Innsmouth Hive, this is your host with the most, Goblin King, holding up the standard for Vox-free transmissions, pumping out the signals here at 665.66 UHMA Chemrat Radio, directly from us to all of your willing and open ear holes.
Thanks for opening up my ear holes, Gabo. I am now at full mast. Looks like we have a little bit of blundering throughout the multiple sub-levels of the Hive today, so I hope you like the color red, because that's what you're gonna be if you don't bring your blood umbrella.
Your blood umbrella.
It's called a blumbrella.
Blumbrella.
Yeah, I was like, there's definitely a better name for that.
Your blumbrella.
Blumbrella.
Remember, it might not sting like acid rain, but it's hydraulic fluid and chemical runoff, so it's probably not much better for you. Also, best not to drink it unless you want another tail or two.
You think only
some
two
people
tails,
like that kind of thing. Some people like that kind of thing, you know?
If it floats your boat, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of drinks, we have taken refuge here at the Cracked Elysium on sub-level 13, waiting out the worst of the storm while catching up with the most recent electro death and synthwave tunes that we can.
You never know who you might run into in here. I heard Zygonia hasn't played a secret show in a while, so who knows?
In Hive news, the Vis Galita have been running recruitment raids in the Underhive over the past few days, targeting mostly four-armed rat haunts and holdings. Looks like House of Modus is eager to expand their forces again this month.
Those damn ice pirates. Stay safe, little guys.
As always, I am joined by my partners in extended Vox Airwave Criminality. Reporting news, weather, and the most recent foodie rumors is the maestro of mayhem himself, Marky.
I give that intro 5 toilets, sir.
Providing security, enforcement, and sometimes shattering and entering services is the berserker of Bullet Alley Beast.
Hello, everyone.
And we would be lost without his continued reports on what the actual real world, you know, the one outside of the Hive, is like, our very own cultured clutterhead Kev. Tell us, Kev, how are the roads between Innsmouth and Enemy Hive doing this week?
Well, the last time I passed out that way, it seemed like as long as you pay the toll to the local, garrison of Auxilia, then it seems like your trips through those roads went pretty smooth.
Don't you know most of those people?
I mean, some, yeah. But
That's why
I
we
do
always-
travel the roads, so, that's, kind of from that happens.
What is the currency for traveling those roads?
I believe they accept barter and or pure cash. Whatever.
I usually just show them pieces of themselves and they'll let me through.
I think you were going to say, I usually show them my piece and they let me through.
I mean, that too.
Beast does that thing where he kills one dude with a teacup, and then he reaches down onto the ground and finds a paperclip and puts it down on the stone wall, and the other
I
guy's
love that
Yeah.
scene.
They're
never
like,
mind.
they're like, Beast, is this an autocannon or are you happy to see me?
It's actually my penis. Actually, it's my thumb.
So guys, we are gonna roll into some fun stuff today. We wanted to talk about action movies and how they might lead to developing lore for the Imperial Guard. Essentially going over some of the 80s and 90s action movies that we like, some of the 80s and 90s action movies that basically built that genre, and talking about how you can either pull existing Guard stuff directly out of those films or how you can use parts of those films to make your own regiments. Basically, everything in the Warhammer 40k universe started with science fiction, fantasy, and the counterculture of the late 70s and 80s being dumped into a blender, made into a thick milkshake, and then that milkshake being turned up to 11. How many toilets would you give that, Marky?
Depending on how the thickness and viscosity of the milkshake, it goes right through you, so it's 1 toilet.
Well, clearly, it also depends on how lactose intolerant you are.
Yes. Bless.
So from the glam rock demons and trader marines to the space marines and their massive power armor, even the fears that made the punk movement look at everything through overtly fascist, xenophobic lenses, kind of translated directly into Warhammer 40k with the way that the Imperium and the different races and Eldar as well being incredibly fascist and xenophobic. And then, of course, all of the art style that was just peeled from comic books like Judge Dredd or illustrated movies like Heavy Metal. You guys remember Heavy Metal, right?
Oh, yeah.
Wicked awesome tits.
And we'll talk about it a little bit later because I believe Kevin picked a movie that is near and dear to the roots of the Warhammer 40k universe. But Warhammer 40k, GW didn't actually start making Warhammer 40k and making Fantasy Battle. They used to make supplements for other role-playing games and comic books, and we'll get into that here in just a couple minutes.
Yeah, because Rogue Trader, correct me if I'm wrong, was 1987?
Yes. Yeah, and before that, they were doing like supplemental material for
Lord of the Rings, right?
No, they were doing Dungeons. They were the first.
They were a model making company, I believe, for Dungeons and Dragons, right?
I thought they made
before
Lord
that.
of the Rings minis before that, though.
Before that, we're talking before. So they actually started making board games. They started making like Moncala and Go, and then from there they became the #1 company in Europe, in England, and then Europe as a whole next to import Dungeons and Dragons from the United States. So they were the licensor that brought that product to the market. And then they started doing things like making supplemental materials for playing things like Mutants and Masterminds and the Judge Dredd role-playing game and Rifts and all sorts of other stuff. They started bringing all that in. And that's when they got into model making. And that's when they got into licensed games. So they actually started, their roots are in role-playing, which makes a lot of sense because a lot of Warhammer 40k stuff is very role-playing adjacent.
Yeah, and initially starting out, it was nothing but a role-playing game, right?
Yep.
It was like a 50-50.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Rogue Trader was kind of like Mansions of Madness or Descent or any of those like RPGs in a box.
Yeah, it was their brainchild of like creating a tabletop game that also incorporated having like a GM,
Dungeon Master.
Gotcha.
Our big goal here with the podcast has always been to introduce and explore the existing lore to unlock and help you guys kind of cooperatively storytell or jump directly into that creative writing process. We aim to provide new players, veteran players, and even those of you who might only be interested in the lore side of this stuff as many places or foundations or diving boards to jump off and get into the massive sandbox of a universe that is Warhammer 40k. I would say, and I think Kevin definitely agrees with me, and I think you guys also might agree with the both of us, that there is pretty much no better place than to start than the Imperial Guard, as they are as close to our human perspective as you're ever going to get within this universe. I mean, this is a universe with biological monsters like Space Marines, technological horrors like the crap that the AdMech put together, and some of the Xenos species that exist, Xenos gods like some of the Eldari. Shit, man, some of the shit that the Tau throw out can be pretty godlike too. And then of course there's fucking literal demons with the warp. So
yeah, I almost kind of wish that they had more lore based off Trader Guard, because not everybody likes the good guy. So having something like even just the perspective of Trader Guard, where it's like, okay, we're going back into the warp, and it's like, all right, well, this is what I experienced in doing that. So it'd kind of be an interesting little. I mean, there might be stories about that. I just don't know. But
Gaunt's Ghost actually does feature a decent amount of perspective from both sides.
Really, of
Well,
Trader Guard, like in the warp.
Well, that's most of what Gaunt's Ghost is fighting against is actually humans. They do fight orcs on occasion, but most of it is actually against other humans as traitors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
And it actually goes from the trader perspective.
They like most
They
good
introduce
war
it.
stories, they show you little snippets of both sides
Gotcha.
from so that way you do get to understand like
Okay, so you get like tidbits.
there's a ramp up going on the other side, and then you get to see and then it culminates when it finally hits back.
Yeah,
to the
I'd
main
almost want like a
characters.
Gaunt's Ghost, but like a Trader Guard aspect of it.
I'm
That might be
pretty
cool.
sure the Eye of Terror Codex, or the Eye of Terror supplement, which was 4th or 5th edition. I've got it over on the shelf, but I don't want to run and grab it. I'm pretty sure the second half of it is called The Lost and the Damned, and it specifically talks entirely about creating Heretic Guard or Trader Guard.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the overall blanket term that's used. It's The Lost and the Damned. And I
Lost
think
and
there
Damned.
was a Lost and Damned supplement at one point
Oh
too.
my god. A Lost Boys Trader Guard army.
Oh.
They used to follow Dark Angels, but they got a little bit too far out there.
Michael.
You're
Oh
eating
no,
maggots.
I'm sorry, not Lost. Fucking yeah, that's Neverland, right?
You
What?
mean Lost Boys as in Peter Pan, not
Oh.
Lost
Like
Boys as
The Hook.
Oh, I was thinking the Lost Boys.
No, like from
like
Hook,
Disney,
like fucking Peter Pan.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
mean
is like
Peter
a
Pan
fucking
Lost Boys.
Trader Guard,
like
dude.
Bangarang.
Yeah. Oh my god,
No, my
Dude, I'm gonna
fucking
paint.
Bangarang.
All right, I think I'm gonna name one of my Imperial Guard tanks Bangarang. I think that's
There
gonna
you
be
go.
one of my tank commanders is gonna get bangerang on,
No,
on
just
his
make
barrel.
a guardsman with like
Nice.
a black and red mohawk and call him Rufio.
Yeah.
Mohawk and call him Rufio.
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
With the chainsword.
Or maybe it'll be a Bolgrin. Maybe we'll give a Bolgrin a mohawk and call him Rufio.
That'd be dope.
So we're kind of aiming to give you guys some templates for how to make your own Imperial Guard regiments with this episode.
Just did.
Just
exactly,
did, bam.
exactly.
Accidental.
Boom.
So this is stuff that you could use to expand your existing guard lore, or even to make a new guard regiment if we've inspired you to. And obviously, you guys can pull from comics, you can pull from video games, but possibly there is no better place to see the influence on the existing regiments or to use as templates for yourself than the over-the-top, ridiculous 80s and 90s action films.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can all draw some pretty quick connections to the current codexes from a couple of films that I'd like to bring up right off the top that we all decided when we set this episode up that we couldn't pull from. So the first one I want to mention is Predator. So in Predator, an elite squad of specialists go into the jungle to save a lost group of VIPs, and they face an unknown and massive alien threat. This is probably one of the films that, at the very least, partly inspired the entire look of the Catachans. I could be wrong. Single-handedly.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
basically.
sure between this and Rambo.
Commando.
100%.
Exactly. Commando, yeah.
Commando.
You can name a few, but I mean, Predator is like.
Predator is the main one.
Yeah.
Predator, yeah, definitely. I love it. I'm so glad you did that. Aliens is the next.
Candy? That's Predator too.
I don't know why, but I thought of the dude that lives next to the fucking Griffins in Family
like
Guy when
Herbert.
you did once. Yeah.
Herbert.
What's
Sounds
your
good.
baby?
Some candy. Mostly I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So the next film that we wanted to bring up was Aliens. In this, a squad of highly trained but normal soldiers are sent on a bug hunt to an existing human colony in order to track down and eliminate a threat. While it is easy to say Cadians right off the bat, I would make the argument that in Aliens, it's kind of just an overall example of any Imperial Guard regiment.
Actually, I
ever.
would say more like Elysians.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, that's true. The Colonial Marines, actually, I would agree that they're more on the Elysian side.
I mean, they look like
They-
it, like the armor.
The armor, the colors kind of match up a little bit more in line, like shape wise too, and also fighting style. The Colonial Marines were never like meant to be deployed as like a garrison
Oh,
force.
yeah, they were
they're
No,
they're
a
deployed as
reactionary
Marines.
force. Yeah.
They are a reactionary force. They're put on a ship. They're there to be deployed
Yeah.
from the ship via their little drop craft thing,
Mm-hmm.
do their thing, and then get out.
Get out. Yep. And then, of course, we've got the one-off action or the one-off character-focused films, like we mentioned Commando already, Rambo, which I would definitely say directly inspired a couple of Catachan heroes, probably none more notably than Sly Marbo himself, who is literally fucking Sylvester Stallone Rambo scrambled together.
Mhm.
And then I would actually say RoboCop, too. There are a lot of Imperial Guard heroes, for instance, Yarick, who have been incredibly damaged and rebuilt with technology. And I would
Mhm.
definitely say that's kind of a RoboCop-ish theme.
Yeah,
Yeah,
$1 Million Man, RoboCop.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Gunny Harker would be like Commando, I believe.
Yeah, Gunny Harker would be a good Commando one. I originally put him down as a potential, and then I was like, wow, I put down like 7 examples of Catachans.
Oh,
Yeah,
Well, that's
that
because
sounds-
Catachans have all the infantry heroes.
Yeah.
Cadia
yeah.
has the one commander and the one tank commander.
I was
and that's
trying
They
to
don't have any like normal heroes.
I was trying to think, and maybe one of you guys will be better at this, but is there a creed? Is there a definite, like, I was thinking maybe Sean Connery from Hunt from Red October would be like a good Creed.
Sean Connery could do a Creed.
That is a good one.
Because I feel like there's definitely movies from that era that had one singular hero
Patton.
who was the leader. Oh, Patton. There you go.
Yeah,
he's
that's a
more
good one.
he's more based off Patton than anybody else. But I mean, like that's what I felt bad about is going over a lot of these movies. All the movies I think of are like from the 1950s.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
like-
because those are all the
yeah.
classic war
Yeah,
movies.
those are the classic
Iwo
ones I
Jima,
watched.
yeah.
Those are all the ones I used to watch. So like when I thought of characters and stuff, but I mean, I view him basically as Pat. Like,
Yeah, I like that. I
You
like that
know.
a lot, actually.
that's like the best thing I can really like compare him to.
He's Patton. Pask is essentially Rommel.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Brad Pitt.
but would be
War
played by
Daddy.
Brad Pitt.
War Daddy.
Absolutely would be played by Brad Pitt.
I was thinking Fury. I was just making a joke.
Good
Well,
old,
yeah.
good old War Daddy.
Yeah, War Daddy.
But he could
Well,
play. I
no,
think
no,
he could
Fury.
play a pass.
No, you're thinking the one where he was like a general, right?
No, he's the tank commander in Fury.
Well, there was one where
Lieutenant Aldo Rain.
no. There was another one. There was a newer one that he
Right.
did, but it was like a more present day. I think he's like a general.
I don't
believe.
Oh, I know what you're talking
It's
about.
it was like a Netflix show.
No, War Daddy is his name in Fury.
Right.
Yeah.
But there was another one.
There is another one called like something of War. He plays one of the generals for Desert Storm.
Yeah, and they
Oh,
like
interesting.
completely it talks about like how like the generals failed at trying to accomplish the mission, so they
Yeah.
like kept replacing him with someone else who was like, I can do this job. Anyways,
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think if we go outside of the realm of 80s and 90s movies, and we really tried to restrict ourselves, as Tom just
To
pointed
the mo-
out, to
yeah.
80s and 90s movies because they're kind of over the top and silly and fun.
Oh, actually,
But
no, I got a good one for Creed.
Hmm.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bison from the Street Fighter movie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's got the collar, the hat,
Nice.
everything. That's literally him. Like,
I mean, he
Bison.
basically looks like a commissar.
Yeah, exactly. That's
big
what-
old
they're like-
baked potato.
But like how he would talk too, he was like leading a new army. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like totally. If we're going ham on the like old cliche action,
Oh, yeah,
Bison,
man.
Bison
I-
from Street Fighter.
I dig it. I was going to. Where was I going? Oh, I was thinking if we were to venture out of the 80s and 90s era, the film that I thought of, I actually think Kevin brought this up, was Black Hawk Down. Black Hawk Down would be a good one for Steel Legion, I feel. There's
I
not a
always
lot
viewed-
of tanks in it, but
I always
there's that
viewed Black Hawk
insertion.
Down as Scions versus Orcs.
Hmm.
That was
Hmm.
or
yeah, that was
Maybe Carcassons versus Orcs?
Castricans.
Castricans versus
Essentially,
Orcs?
Scions and Castricans essentially fill similar
Yeah.
duties, but because you got to remember that it was they're special ops. They were rangers.
Right.
They're
right.
airborne rangers, so they're technically a special operations in a way.
Yeah, they're Rangers in Delta Force.
Yeah, in Delta Force, and then they had other guys on the ground. But so essentially, it was them getting dropped. They were supposed to. Well, in Warhammer, it would have been kill the war boss.
Right.
Or if you wanted to dial it back into humans versus humans, it would
Yeah,
be
Yeah.
heretics.
Yeah, Heretic Marine. Or not
Or it
Heretic
would,
Marines, Heretic
somebody, it would
Guard.
be like a Tau Ethereal trying to take over a planet or something.
Oh,
and then
that'd
they-
be, that's an
that
interesting
would
way to
actually-
look at it.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that the mobs of angry villagers shooting like garbage,
Yeah, well, I
Um,
mean that's
firing,
Yeah.
but
like standard. I mean, if you think of it as like a primitive world that the Tower trying to take over.
that's true. And they only had really, really trash PDF weapons.
Yep.
Yeah, that could work. Essentially, that would be the
The
Black
other,
Hawk Down scenario.
the other thing to kind of keep in mind, though, as we talk about our war movies, the American war movies, definitely, especially as we got into like kind of the gritty era, everything got a lot propagandized.
Oh yeah,
Um,
obviously.
Obviously, we didn't necessarily win some of these conflicts, but we have a tendency to report on them like we won them. But
I mean, we all know Black
yeah.
Hawk Down was not a win.
yeah,
Really? But that's part of the point of the movie.
Fury might be a good. You guys just brought it up. The tank movie might be a good Steel Legion one. I'm just trying to think of like
Fury
what
would be a good Steel Legion one.
Yeah.
Fury would make a good Steel Legion movie.
It's a fun concept, and like we talked about in one of our early creative writing episodes, don't feel like you have to invent the wheel, because nobody invents the wheel again. No one, none of these authors. And if you listen to authors talk, you listen to Neil Gaiman, you listen to Brandon Sanderson, you listen to any of these authors that are just really respected right now, and even the people who came before him, Stephen King, Dean Koontz, Anne Rice, I can pull authors out forever who will always say, oh yeah, I borrowed this, oh yeah, I went back to this.
influenced by another.
Exactly.
Nobody.
We're not reinventing the wheel. We're just
Right.
making tires.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly,
Right.
That's
exactly.
kind of the way I look at it.
It's a really good way to look at it.
Being stuck on trying to be original is a good way to get writer's block. When it's like, I wouldn't worry about being original. I would worry about or focus on the things that you enjoy and how you can implement them into your hobby.
Have you ever seen those guys that will like chainsaw carve wood on the side of the street?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They always start with a piece of wood that already kind of looks like something,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just modify
Yeah.
it until
Good
it's nice
analogy.
and polished.
They always say, or like the guys who used to like carve marble way back in the day, and they'd be like, "The stone spoke to me."
Right.
And it's like
Yeah.
it was vaguely in the shape that you recognized, and you're like, "I could totally shape this and
Well,
put the detail in to make it into that other thing."
I mean, here's the thing, right? Nobody, even in whatever past, there's no original thing, right? Like because you could have a completely original idea, but all of the materials you use aren't. You know,
Yeah.
you're gonna have You can always have original ideas and original stories, but none of your material or the tools you use will be original, and that's okay. You know,
Yeah.
like that's usually how it's done.
And
I mean,
like
shit, that's all I know how to do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. If you're looking at getting into Warhammer for the first time and you're looking at doing, say, like Heretic Guard or Imperial Guard, pick a flavor. You know, flip it. Shit. If you're not sure, flip a coin. But say you really like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., look at the way that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is designed as a television show. Look at the things that you can extrapolate about that organization and build that as the basis for your guard unit. Can I do that for you right now? Absolutely not, because I literally pulled the name out of the zeitgeist, and I've only seen like 2 episodes of it. But
Having not seen episode, I couldn't throw one out.
Yeah.
But considering that, I mean, I'm guessing it's very similar. Like you could easily make an SCP task force.
oh yeah,
Imperial
dude,
Guard,
100%.
which would be very similar
oh my
to
God.
that. I was tossing that idea around the other day.
They work with the Ordo Malleus exclusively. Like they
exactly.
literally respond to SCP
Yeah,
shit.
literally,
because
because somebody tossed around the idea that SCP is basically the pre-Inquisition.
Oh, yeah.
SCP.
SCP is this
secure-
weird little like mini foundation or mini fandom that came out of like basically it's an Inquisition that exists on Earth.
So is that initialism for something?
it's secure
serve-
control,
or, secure, contain,
control,
protect.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
it's-
their whole thing is it's like a shadow organization, Men in Black thing that goes around and basically keeps all the Inquisition shit from like fucking up humanity.
Okay,
So
so like
we'll-
FBI kind of.
And they lock a bunch of shit in bunkers underground and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
like Bigfoot and monsters.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it
we'll
includes
talk about-
Bigfoot and like weird shit like that too.
We'll talk
but-
about the SCP at the
That'll
beginning
be
of
a
our
good
next
cool
Lore
one to-
Obscurus episode. Is
Oh,
our little
yeah,
like
that could
we
be
we
good.
always introduce something that exists. We'll talk about them.
yeah,
Yeah,
'cause I
so-
actually want to know more about that too.
I actually just recently started getting into them.
Yeah.
I
It
didn't
is a
until
deep-
just recently.
It is a deep,
It's a deep
creepypasta hole.
No, it
and
is.
it's
I-
very
Amazing.
creepy.
I've known about it for quite a few years. Ever
I've
since
been-
I got into Siren Head.
Yeah.
And from this point on, I
Yeah,
was
that's a
like,
good one.
I'm not ready.
I've
to
been watching the
dive."
videos.
Yeah, I'm not
I
ready.
watched
So-
Overlord and
Overlord.
Overlord
pretty
is good.
What was the
Yeah.
other one they did? He did 2 of them. They're both really good.
Yeah, and then I watched the other one, which they did in like Arma or something.
The
They
ones
filmed it
that
in Arma or the Source Engine, I couldn't remember.
he's filmed with real, because it's
With the real people one, yeah,
those are always
good.
really good.
Those
Oh,
are
They're
I
super
I
good.
think I watched Overlord.
Overlord the zombie movie?
No, Overlord.
No.
It's like an 11-minute short.
It's like 20 minutes, I
deals-
think.
It deals with a special operations unit.
It's an SCP
investigating
unit
a house.
that goes, yeah, and they're like investigating this creepy cult, and there's like these people floating in the air and shit. It's super whack.
Dude, you
Yeah.
know what a good idea
Crazy
for a
shit.
guard regiment is? The fuck do you call them? Ferals from Fallout?
Oh
Or
yeah,
ghouls? Not ferals,
Feral
ghouls.
The ghouls. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like their planet is super irradiated, so they all look like zombies.
Oh, so
They're-
their
they're all
skin is all
muties.
like
Yeah,
fucked
falling
up,
apart,
but
yeah.
but the radiation actually they live so long that they
Right, and it's almost
That
like
might-
Blood Angels Black Rage, where like eventually they they go feral, and
their
then they have
DNA
like a feral unit.
deteriorates.
That'd be
that
so
would
sick,
see,
right?
and this is like what we're saying is you pick one flavor of something
Yeah,
and you
and
just
design
you
it
just keep
out.
licking that lollipop until you
Yeah.
get to the
You just
center,
keep
that
licking
goose
it.
dewy center.
Like a
So with
lollipop.
that in mind, we wanted to go over some of our favorite movies from this era and talk about what we would do if we were to build our own custom guard regiment. And Kev, since guard is your thing and you are the guard lord, and,
All
and
right.
at this point I have to be
God
like, who? Why don't you start out with your movies?
All right, so the first one we are going to go straight into the easy low hanging fruit because I actually
Get
let
it
this
off
one
the
sit
tree.
out there, and I was like, let's see if one of the other guys want to take this one so I can try to be more creative. And nobody said anything for like 45 minutes. So I was like, well, fine, Starship Troopers is mine. Deal with it.
I like how 45 minutes was the cutoff. You're like, that's plenty of time.
I was at
Oh
work.
no, I got
had
to
shit
there.
do.
I got to there too because I was like, y'all should pick before I pick, so I make sure that my
Right?
obscure stuff is obscure. And then nobody said anything, and I was finally like, okay, fine, here are my 2 obscure movies. I hope nobody wanted them.
Ryan and I sat there and probably looked at the empty chat for like a good 20 minutes. Like, we're like, well, one of them's going to respond, right?
One of them's gonna pick my movie. I know it.
So, yeah, Starship Troopers, low hanging fruit. Here we go. We all know Starship Troopers. Everybody's seen it. If you haven't, well, too bad.
Made me the man I am.
So
today.
it's yeah.
Absolutely.
So before Kevin jumps into a synopsis of the plot, it's an American military science fiction action film directed by Paul Verhoeven. who also directed Total Recall and Basic Instinct. If I get these guys' names wrong, sorry, y'all know that I don't pronounce names very well. And it was written by Edward Nemir, who wrote RoboCop and Anaconda Hunt for the Blood Orchid.
Ooh, is that the one with Ice Cube?
No, I think that's the second one.
Yeah.
No, that's
It's
the
the
first
second one.
which is,
Is
in
it?
my opinion, the better
It's the one with the guy he played Link in Tears of the Sun.
Yes. It's based on a Robert A. Heinlein 1959 novel of the same name, and it stars Casper Van Dien,
I love that.
Dina Myers, Denise Richards, and Neil Patrick Harris.
I love that.
I love all of them.
What about no, wait,
And PH would do that.
did you say Busey? What's his name?
I did not. Jack Busey's in it. No,
Like,
Casey.
How dare
Casey
you leave him
Busey's in
out?
it. And
Yeah.
then Michael Ironside's in it as well. There's a bunch of people in it. I tried to pick like the
Which is crazy because it's like that movie never went anywhere, but it had so many really good people in it.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah,
almost
so
every single movie we picked, almost none of them are like blockbusters, and almost every single one of them just has like fucking names in it.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they weren't names then, where
That's
they were
true,
just
that's
starting
true,
to be names.
So, serious question for you guys: who's worse, Karn the Betrayer or Carmen the Betrayer?
I was
Fucking
going to say,
Carmen
I
the
don't know what you're
Betrayer,
asking,
obviously.
but it's
as soon
Denise
as he said
Richards.
Karn the Betrayer, I knew exactly. Fucking Carmen, that heartbreaking bitch.
I thought he was gonna say who's worse, Denise Richards or Dina Myers, and I'd be like, why are we having Denise Richards?
I mean,
all day?
she
Come on, man.
was definitely hotter than Diaz,
Right.
but at the same time, what a bitch.
Yeah,
Nah,
100%.
Dizzy was way hotter.
Fuck
Come on,
Carmen.
man.
I'm not a fan of that frizzy of hair.
You know what you should do?
I gotcha.
You know what you
Okay.
should do? You should name a tank. Fuck Carmen.
Fuck Carmen.
Oh, dude. A Valkyrie?
God.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
outside
my
of a
God.
Oh,
Name a Valkyrie. Fuck Carmen.
So
She was a pilot.
give us-
so-
Yeah.
give us a rundown of the
piece of
plot and
shit.
let us know why you picked it and what it might link to in the existing universe.
Yeah, we've got it's humanity, it's year whatever it is, and sorry, I didn't actually go back and read all this stuff
think it-
beforehand, but it's
Yeah,
the future.
It's
Humanity's
the
at war.
23rd or 24th century. It's
Yeah.
way, yeah.
Humanity's got faster in light travel. We're reaching out across the stars, starting to make new planets and stuff. And then, lo and behold, oh man, conveniently, there's this alien bug race that's like, oh, super, super aggressive. Oh man, wouldn't it suck if we let this asteroid slam into Buenos Aires so we had a reason to go to war with them?
The arachnids.
So what Kevin's talking about is some of
There's a lot of nuance to the plot about propaganda and everything that goes
Yeah.
with it. But essentially, the humans, they have an excuse to go to war with this bug menace to take them out. I mean, in reality, it was probably a good move to try this before the bugs just were like, oh, hey, I wonder how humans taste. But
Yeah.
in reality, we did start the war.
We
went into
poked.
their territory first.
Yeah.
Mormons did it.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. The Mormons
really?
went and settled on a bug planet.
Spacefaring
And then they got
Mormons.
torn up, and then people were like, why'd you let the Mormons die? And humanity was like, we told them not to go there. Oh, look, this asteroid just slammed into Buenos Aires. I guess it's time to go to war.
Yep.
But and then so essentially the story follows somebody who gets out of high school, and in this universe, your choice is very, very much either be a worker pawn in the system or join the military / government organizations and be a better than basic rights citizen.
Yeah, but
And citizens and
I think
civilians, but
I think the important thing to actually point out in this case, though, is that Rico is from a super rich family, so he doesn't have to do this.
right,
has-
he could
has a loop
afford
out.
college,
Yeah.
which would then put him in line to join the political parties or whatever, which then grants him the same kind of
right.
thing.
Think of it as like an upper hiver that had the opportunity to
Basically,
stay an upper hiver
if you're
or
a
become a
factory
guardsman.
if you're a
Exactly.
factory worker or something like that, you don't get to vote in this society.
Yeah.
However, if you're a police officer, EMT, teacher, anything
Well,
that
he was
works
also-
for the system to produce more of the system gains you the right to vote is essentially the way it works.
He was also a football star.
Right, he was also a jock, so he had an easy line straight into college that would have then guaranteed him basically all this stuff.
Right, and he didn't do this for the Emperor.
No, there was no emperor.
He did this
Yeah.
for
He
Carmen
did this
the
for
Betrayer.
the Poos.
He did this for Carmen the Betrayer.
Yeah, Carmen. And so yeah, his high school girlfriend joins the fleet, and he's like, "Man, I'm dumb, but I'm gonna join up anyway." So he
Yeah,
gets
he
in the
doesn't-
infantry.
He doesn't have good test scores.
No,
And
but he joins the infantry like a man. What a Chad!
Yeah,
So he
as
joined-
Neil Patrick Harris likes
he-
to point out.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Neil Patrick Harris joins up. That's one of their friends, and he's psychic.
Yes, he's
And
basically.
And
He's
super
an
smart.
astropath.
And
Joins
so
the
he's
Inquisition.
the astropath and joins military intelligence / the
Yep.
Inquisition.
Yeah, basically.
And would you like to know more?
Exactly.
Dude, it's so like it's funny because like
It's a very good film.
I'm like I know all this, but as you're talking about it, I'm like, man, fuck me. It's like just slides right in.
I know, right?
You're
You're like,
like-
man, this is like a Warhammer puzzle. How did
This
we
is a
not
fucking
notice this?
copy paste.
Like
right?
a well-lubed
So
machine.
he then joins up. They're given some basic rudimentary training, which backfires when one of his people ends up shooting another one of his people in live fire training in the middle of camp because
Yep.
you know apparently that's about all their soldiers' lives are worth.
Yeah.
So yeah, their training's pretty brutal. Like they're not opposed to just beating the shit out of and letting people die in live fire exercises. It's like normal.
Yeah, people.
Sir,
people
why do
have-
I have to learn how to use a knife if all I have to do is touch a red button? Soldier,
your hand
put
on that
your hand
wall.
on that wall.
Best scene of any
Oh,
movie.
so
I
many.
don't care.
This movie itself is like meme fuel for days.
Oh,
and
100%.
what's
God.
sad is if you go into a gift search, there isn't enough gifts.
No, there isn't.
You have to
No,
like
that's not
search the
fair.
dark corners of the internet to find these memes,
Yeah.
and there's so many of them.
I absolutely
But,
love the like little tiny chunk of all the like fucking 8-year-old little girls stomping.
Oh,
cockroaches.
stomping on the cockroaches.
next
We're
to the
doing our
dumpster.
part.
I'm doing
Yeah.
my
Oh,
part.
and
Yeah.
how, dude, my favorite part, and I used to laugh with this with like my family, is how the woman laughs.
Oh, he's cackling with
Maniacally.
joy.
It's like, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
they're
uh,
like, this is a fully automatic Morita. Who wants to hold it?
who
And
wants
they're
to
all
hold
handing
it?
them- they're handing the kids
They're
bullets.
handing the fucking like these giant ass. Because aren't those like 50 cal?
No,
They look like they're pretty fat.
They're base. I forget. I think they call them like 7.7s or something.
So they're basically
But
30
they're
odds.
3008. That's
Okay.
308 basically.
Cool. But essentially, then the humans all get drafted because right about the time Rico's like, man, I'm not good at this being an officer thing. I'm going to go home. And then Buenos Aires explodes. So he's like, I guess not. Now it's personal. So he
Yep.
joins the war effort and finds out that the war effort is basically Imperial Guard. Oh, here, we're going to go crush the bugs. Oh, God, there's just as many of them as there is of us.
It's
And
even
we don't have that many bullets.
the movie too, because remember it is based off of a book.
Yeah.
But we're talking specifically.
They
about the movie
changed
here.
the book for the movie, but the movie is very more Imperial Guard as opposed to Space Marine.
So the-
Actually,
the
so,
book-
So no, I would actually like say that the movie is more basic Imperial Guard because they
Right.
don't even have tanks.
Well, yeah,
Like they don't even have vehicles. They're just like they're all just slogging it.
yeah.
You know, and the books you had tanks, you had vehicles, you had armor.
Mechs.
You know what I mean? Like
Although-
And the book
they did-
the book's soldier is basically in almost exactly like if you read the description of the 1959 book and then you look at Space Marines, that's the armor they wear. The mobile infantry essentially wears Space Marine armor in the books. The books though
they're
or
like
the
Spartans
book,
from
not the
Halo.
yeah, not the books. There's only one. The book is very much an exploration of what propaganda is and what propaganda means to a population. And
Right.
they played with that in the film. And that's one of the reasons that, oddly enough, the film is kind of misunderstood and made fun of.
A lot of
But
people
the film
don't get
does a
the film.
really good job of doing propagandizing everything.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But let's stick to the movie. I was
Right,
just
sorry.
using it as a reference.
Reeling it back. So
Yeah.
the mobile infantry is deployed. They go. Oh yeah, let's go straight to the bug menace. We're gonna kill their homeworld.
with
We're
no
going to
support.
kill-
With no
Datu.
support,
They're just
they
like,
just
throw
they
people
just
at it.
warp a fleet into the system, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, they're just bugs." And then they're like, "Oh man, they can shoot into orbit. That's not good.
that's
Proceed
weird.
as planned."
Yeah.
And they drop down on the planet, and they're like, they just start dumping men onto the surface of the planet. And the men's training never consisted of how to fight bugs. It always consisted of stand in a line and just point bullets at whatever is the problem. That's literally that was the highlight of their training, is run forward and shoot. So when they get engaged by the bugs and they run forward and shoot, and the bugs just keep coming
Yeah,
at them,
they don't stop.
they don't stop. All the people are like, "Oh, what do we do? This isn't working."
Literally, they literally
That is
say
the
that.
line, is, "What do we
What
do?"
do we do?
Yeah.
Kill them all!
And that's when they're just like, "Kill them all," and they just start shooting.
It's
Like,
so
'cause-
good.
and they just shoot until either they run out of ammo or they run out of distance between them and the bugs. And I
they
mean,
never
that's-
run out of ammo. That's the
I
best
know,
part.
right?
That's
They
the best
literally
part.
did
Their
that
magazines
movie.
are this big and they just never run out.
But
They don't
and
they
then-
don't live long enough.
right. And there are medics and all that stuff, but there's no thought really given to each person.
Well,
Like, it's so disorganized, and they're just thrown at the enemy.
One of the best parts, he's like, I'm running out of ammo, and he like throws him a mag. He's, I'll make it count. He's like, yeah. That's not doing that. Like,
He's like, make it count, and then he just hip fires out like 5-round bursts. He's just like,
he's all sure thing.
He's like fucking Archer. Anytime anybody gives Cyril ammunition, he suppressing fire, and then he just runs out in 30 rounds.
Well, so I was actually fascinated. You know, obviously, like we're all huge fans of this movie. I've dug into like what the guns are and what they're meant to be.
They're pretty cool.
They're quad stack mags. Yeah, technically is what they are.
They're super thick.
Yeah, they're supposed to be super fat.
That's why they're boxy.
It's like a storm bolter.
Yeah,
it's like a storm bolter mag. They're basically just as wide as they are tall.
Yeah, and there's like 80
what
rounds.
A Chad.
Yeah, they're supposed to be like 80 rounds.
80 rounds.
They're
in
their
it,
little box. They're like AKs have what are called coffin mags, and they're triple stack.
Doubles. Oh yeah, triple stack.
They're triple stack, and they're old like 70.
No,
but they're like this long.
Yeah, those are.
But they're like this wide.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're 70.
Yeah,
but you can put 70 rounds out of an AK.
Well, I mean, if you think of like
thing.
a drum mag, of like 100-round drum mag, it's like that's a single stack, like row.
Right.
You just smash that down into a triple stack, and you got a little brick.
Yeah,
exactly.
These are quad stack 308 carbon fiber explosive tip.
Oh my god!
You know,
that was what was crazy.
Ridiculous
Is apparently they're supposed to
weapons,
launch like little mini bolter rounds that explode.
Yeah, well, that's like the whole
the
thing about the movie is like,
yeah.
You can really compare it to like almost everything. I mean, dropships. I mean, those dropships.
Those
are
dropships.
Valkyries.
Yeah, they fulfill the same role as a Valkyrie.
They actually have go ahead, Ryan.
And I was gonna say, like, you can directly compare the fucking arachnids to the Tyranids. It's not even.
yeah.
It's not even a
100%.
difficult. It's not even a difficult stretch to make.
No, you don't even have to jump from that tree to another tree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the
Like,
Imperial
those
Guard,
branches are touching.
the Imperial Guard actually have a Forge World unit that looks exactly like that dropship.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not surprised.
Are you talking about the Arvis slider?
I think so. Yeah, it's like that boxy kind of aircraft.
Yeah.
Oh, I know the
that's-
one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's
I
the
think it's
little baby
Legends now.
boxy. It's
Yeah,
been
it's
Legends for a
Legends, yeah.
while. Yeah. Yeah, it's the Arvis slider.
What existing guard regiment would the mobile infantry be related to? Without taking aside the fact that armor is the armor from the movie Aliens, that armor is the armor that the Alliance wears in Firefly. Take all that aside.
Yeah.
We know that armor gets reused
know
a
that.
bunch.
I would say they're most closely related to the Elysians,
Okay.
just purely based off the fact that they are mobile infantry. That's literally their name.
Yeah.
They are designed to be dropped from fleet. That is their whole purpose.
Yeah.
They aren't eventually they do start getting tanks and like heavier ground support, but that's out of need, and that's in the expanded kind of
And we're
secondary
referring
movies.
specifically to the movie.
Right. And so in the movie, they don't even get all that. So just in the movie, they are purely portrayed as a fleet-based, deployed aerial assault kind of style army.
Yeah.
And they get dropped in on planet, like when they get dropped on planet P and they do go marching, but they were on planet P driving around. They were on planet P dropped from orbit biplane into this valley because that was a good LZ, and then they walk to P.
Yeah.
Or they walk to Whiskey Outpost.
Yeah, they walk to the
brain
outpost.
brain bug.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because for some reason they couldn't land in that
I
giant
really-
open field right outside of Whiskey Outpost.
I really like how you mentioned the fact that
60
Carl
years.
is basically an astropath and part of and like kind of works through the Inquisition. Like I never even thought about that. Like that's
He's
no,
totally an
dope.
astropath.
Plug and play. Plug and play.
He's definitely an astropath. And then
That's awesome.
deploying him on the battlefield like that to hunt the brain bug, totally a thing that the
Big dick
Inquisition would do.
Inquisition.
Go
move.
bug mom,
Yeah.
Cyrano.
Yeah, go bug mom. That movie made me want to
Oh my
ferret.
god.
Right.
And that was right. And I don't know if this is a random tangent. That movie came out, and then California made ferrets illegal.
Yeah.
That movie.
I was like,
movie-
these sons of bitches.
Right.
That movie made me want to fuck Diz.
Yes, I'm with
I
Tom.
wanted Carmen.
100%.
I didn't at
Dude,
first.
you-
I
so-
didn't at first.
so
Oh, you
hot
didn't? No,
take.
no. I picked a Diz right off the bat. Denise.
No,
reached
I
out.
was
no,
straight
no.
for Carmen.
So hot take. This movie made you realize that sometimes personality is better than looks.
Oh, definitely.
As a child, as a
Oh,
boy
definitely.
child.
And definitely, I was like, oh man,
guys,
I feel.
I understand where you're coming
God
from, but there is a
damn.
shower scene, and you only see one set, and the set you see is the set that's more attractive.
No, that's not true.
That
That's
that
not
one
true.
didn't.
That is
I don't
not
know.
true. That is not true. That other girl.
Yeah, the little redhead.
had a nice rack. No, not
That's
the
true.
redhead. The other
Oh,
one.
yeah,
the one
the
that,
other
the
one.
one that
the
wants
one that
babies.
shot the dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that shot the dude in the head.
Yeah,
I thought she was a redhead.
No,
I
no.
think she was a redhead.
No, the redhead
No.
one got sucked into a pit and then was like, "Oh no!" But she didn't want babies. That was the one. Yeah,
No.
redhead wanted babies.
Why'd you join the
the
mobile
other
infantry?
one, her mom.
I
yeah.
bet you do.
The other one, her mom was in, and she wanted. She was doing it because it's in the family. But she was the one that shot the big idiot,
Yeah.
Right.
and got kicked out. But she had a great rack.
It must be because I'm big, and dumb.
Which was like literally like that fool. I was so mad because I was like, that guy's me. And then it was like, boom. I'm like, yeah, that's
Well,
probably be me.
But that's actually a good.
Out of the
a
four of us, am I the only frizzy hair person?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm discovering?
As in
No.
you like frizzy hair or
Oh,
you
yeah,
have
man.
frizzy hair?
You're,
No,
in
no,
that
curly
movie,
hair.
hold
I
up,
like
hold up,
Curly
hold
hair
up.
isn't a negative.
I'm
It's
a-
when it's like.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this right now.
All right. Well,
I'll do this right now.
What we got going on?
I
Okay.
definitely the dude that got shot in the face right away. Right? Or I would like to think that I would be Zim. Right?
In
Chances are not.
your desk. I was about to say, chances are your desk guy.
Right. Right. No. I'm 100% dude that got shot in the head like right away. 100% that's me.
What was
What's
the,
the ferret's name? Because right
No,
here.
I was like, you are definitely Ryan is definitely fucking Busey. 110%. 110
What,
fucking
Ace?
percent.
Ace?
Yeah, Ace. 110% you're Ace. 110%.
I can't even argue with that.
No, you cannot. Mark is definitely
I'm the guy that died in front of Rico, and he's just what was his name? Vasquez.
No, Mark. Yeah, Mark is definitely the dude that
His
like
knife hand.
holds the nuke. As he's like shooting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
He's got that
dude,
like
yeah.
gut rip across his
Dude,
chest.
you.
Get some,
dude,
get
that is
some,
my
get
favorite
some.
fucking scene.
I know. I know what I'm talking
I
about,
was just
dude.
that
You-
dude.
you
You want some?
You want some more? You want
You want
some
that? You
more?
like that?
Yeah. That's Mark. That is 100% Mark. 100% Mark.
And Kev
Um,
is.
Kevin, I'd have to
Kevin's
say
the redhead
I'd-
with the nice set of tits.
No, I'd have.
Am I Xander?
I was originally thinking Xander.
Am I Xander?
No,
Am I
but
that guy?
honestly, it's.
I feel like you're Carl.
It's like no, he's not Carl. I mean, he'd be Rico. That's the only thing I can really.
I
think
can
of.
see that.
Kevin would definitely be Rico. I mean, like I'm like maybe not as glorified, you know.
But I would try.
He'd be a real Rico. Like
When I talk,
basically, Carmen would have been like. It would have been like, I'm going off to join. And if Kevin was actually Rico, he would have been like, fuck you, bitch. And then started fucking his prom night.
So hear me out. Hear me out. This is why I say that Kevin is Carl. Because he's too smart to be Rico. He's too knowledgeable.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, that's fair.
But that's why I was thinking Xander.
But to
Yeah,
get
I
some,
would
you
say
got to be
he's
smarter
Xander
to be a
then.
pilot.
but
Yeah.
to get some is definitely Rico.
Yeah.
Although Xander
I'll-
has some in the expanded, he's not in the movies. If you watch through the whole animated series, Xander has some redeeming moments.
Okay.
They make him less of a bitch at certain times.
I didn't think he was a bitch.
Well, he was never really a bitch. He was
How
more
is
like
he in any of the
I'm-
other? He dies.
they changed the story.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Yeah, that's
I was like,
they
he-
revamped
he
the
fucking
story
dies. I don't understand.
No, they
No,
rewrite the whole
And
story.
he's actually a blonde. Like,
Hmm.
Xander's actually blonde.
So,
he was blonde.
blonde.
another way
Yeah.
that's like Games Workshop is get retconned.
Yeah,
Get
Get retconned, not get wrecked.
They
Get
got
retconned.
retconned hardcore.
and the animated series did come out in the 90s, in the mid 90s. So is just kind of towards the tail end of our
That's-
years
that's
that we
my
were trying to
favorite.
aim for.
That's my favorite, was Roughnecks.
Yeah.
So
I got two things that I want to go through real quick, and the first one is I now have carte blanche, and this is not Kevin. This is Beast's fault. It's Kev's fault because he brought the movie up. It's Beast's fault because he broke us all down. I now have carte blanche that we all get matching tattoos at LVO 2023.
oh my god, dude.
Because I am Gary. I'm Beastie. It's his fault.
We're gonna get cut together.
But the second
Kevin
one.
would be Kevin would be
That guy. That's me. Or is it the dude with the bottle pouring it
Right,
on the
that's
tattoo?
what I'm saying. It's
Oh my
that guy.
God,
Like,
right.
that's
Oh,
the
that
dude.
was that guy.
Does it-
that dude.
does it-
Yeah, that's me.
Does it
I'm the
one of
guy
them-
pouring tequila on your fresh laser
Does
tag.
it one of them only get like a part of the tattoo? He like bitches out halfway through. Anyway,
No.
and the second point is What's your second movie, Kevin?
So
Sorry, I had to do
going
that
from
breakdown.
the airdrop
That's cool, I
Elysian
love it.
Troopers into my next movie, kind of the least warlike, or is the less warlike of the two, and we're going back to the inspiration kind of Hive cities with Judge Dredd.
Oh yeah, Judge Dredd, man.
So
Oh,
as
yeah.
as we know, Judge Dredd is a enforcer of law.
Oh, let me
Is-
do can I do my little movie trivia thing?
Yeah,
Sorry.
give your little spiel.
It is an American action fiction film based on the American comic book character of the same name, directed by Danny Cannon. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer and Geostorm. Those are some of his other movies. And written by William Wisher Jr., who wrote Terminator 2 and The 13th Warrior, among a bunch of other stuff. But
Oh my fucking god, I forgot about 13th Warrior.
Yeah,
And Stephen
I thought about using it.
E. De Soez, who wrote Die Hard and Die Hard 2. It stars Sylvester Stallone, Armand Asante, and Diane Lane, among many others, including Rob Schneider. And yeah,
Oh yeah, I
it's-
forgot he was in that.
Yeah.
I forgot he was in that.
I think he's the hacker at the beginning, isn't
I
he?
knew
he's a
you'd
con.
say that.
He's I think a hacker, like thief. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the
Well, I'm not guilty. I knew you'd say that.
Yep.
That was fucking good.
Isn't that then he goes? Doesn't he switch to
like that
penetrator?
impersonation?
Doesn't he? Isn't that like right when he switches to penetrator ammo and then blasts him through the wall?
No.
No, he arrests him, I think.
No, he'd
okay.
arrested him. He'd fallen out of the building, and then
Oh, right.
he picks him up, and he's like, "How do you plead?" And he's like, "Not guilty." He's like, "I knew you'd say that."
I am the law.
Rambo, I'm killing Mark. Rambo is my favorite movie, Mark. I've done a lot of impersonating of him.
So Kev, hit us with that
I knew
sweet
you'd say
synopsis. I am the law.
You really do have to get the lip going when you say it.
So what's this one? It's actually a really good kind of analogy, specifically for Terra, but also Hive cities in general.
Oh shit, yeah.
So it's like in this one, it's 2080. Earth is a barren wasteland. You know, we used a bunch of our resources. We consolidated into giant mega cities, and everything's kind of shitty in between. And you know, giant populations mean giant crime. To speedily, efficiently deal with that, they're like, "Hey, you know what, cops? Let's skip the court process. Judge, jury, executioner. Here's your badge. Here's your gun. Go fix the city." And
Well, don't they call it too the like Ministry of Defense or something like that? Like
I think it's like the Ministry of Order.
yeah,
or Ministry of
which-
Protection. or
which-
something.
Ministry
like-
of Judgment.
yeah, which is like literally like plug and play. Like,
Yeah.
Mm.
And then in Warhammer, this is essentially the Adeptus Arbites.
Ministry of Justice. Sorry.
Ministry of Justice,
Yeah.
that's what it is. Yeah.
Ministry of
And so essentially, yeah, these are the arbiters, Arbites in
Right,
Warhammer.
Adeptus Arbites.
In the movie, though, Judge is introduced. He gets to go end a block war. So he goes after these crime bosses and everything. I mean, what's cool about the judges is they literally have ultimate power. They're like mini inquisitors within
Yeah.
a city. And they come in, they're like, "Oh man, you's breaking the law. That's a blaming."
Yep. And the huge. That's a blam.
I'm gonna use that now. I have some blaming.
I mean, and if it's a minor infraction, you know, that's a paddling.
That's some blaming.
Yeah, and the huge thing about Dread is the fact that it's almost directly copy paste.
Oh, the artwork is
yeah.
so much
And
the
there-
same.
And there's a reason. I'll bring
And
it up.
there was a
Remind me, I'll
role
bring
playing
it up.
game at some point,
Yep.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that GW did.
Yeah.
They used to release
And
last
so
night.
this one, like, but it's about the mega cities and the disparity between the rich and the poor
The whole
that this
atmosphere,
really
yeah.
sets off. That
And then there's a
matches
bu-
up with Warhammer.
And then there's a bunch of shit that like Dredd gets framed and he ends up outside.
Oh yeah, the movie has a
city
lot of
and-
good plot,
plot,
which
yeah.
would very much be in a Warhammer setting. There's a
Well-
lot of these intrigue where like, oh man, the law enforcement's catching on to my shady business deal, so we got to set him up.
Mm.
And you know,
Well,
And
and,
it
I mean, even the one of the things that they like do is one when the judges have like served their time being a judge, when they resign, they're sent into the wastes.
Yeah, they're
Mhm.
they're
You
sent
know,
to bring law to the
Law and
lawless.
order, yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's
like,
essentially until they die. It's like going on a Black Watch.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And then the other one too is they even have like robots from the old wars.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Oh yeah, I saw
And
that.
yeah, I mean, like,
Dude
it's-
looked like he was from fucking real steel, man.
yeah.
There's a really big difference for those of you listening between the original Judge Dredd, which was released in, I think, 95, and the movie Dredd that was released in 2012 or
Which is-
2013.
Which is
is
awesome as well and features these same
one-
concepts, but is
Yeah.
missing certain elements
Yeah.
that we're kind of
Yeah.
referring to now.
Mhm.
Yeah, but Dread is still. I just want
Dread
you to
is
know.
also applicable in basically every way.
Very-
The
very
movie-
much,
the
but
movie
one of the
Dread
most
from
amazing
20
movies.
Yeah.
The movie Dredd from 2012 is like that beginning portion of the movie Judge Dredd from 1995 where they go into the
Mhm.
block war. If they had if they basically had made like a trilogy,
Which
Dredd
weren't
would
they?
be the
I think
first
that was the
one.
plan, was to make a
wonder if-
second one.
I wonder
a
if they
third one.
will. Yeah, it'd be kind of cool. So yeah, the chief justices. Sorry to jump on your thunder, but the chief justices
No,
are kind
you-
of like
you did-
inquisitors too.
Yeah, that's
A little
true.
bit.
And they have like a council of them and everything, which is
Yeah.
that is also represented in Warhammer. The Arbites have a big council and everything too.
And even just like the way that like in Dan Abnett has played with Inquisitors, like kind of falling from grace. One of the chief justices falls and like brings in like isn't there some the whole like plot, they try to like frame Dredd because they've got like a clone of him or something.
Right. And the
I
guy
haven't seen it.
basically
It's been
says,
a
I'll
long
step.
time.
Yeah, the guy basically says, I'll step down if you reduce Dredd's sentence. And when
Yeah.
he steps down, they're like, okay, we won't like slander your name, but we'll still kill you or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And they end up killing everybody. Yeah.
It's a dope film.
It
It's
is.
been a while, but it's a good film.
Well, it's such a good. It's a Sylvester Stallone flick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's such a good. There's action. There's like cheesy comedy.
Cheesy one-liners.
Yeah, you know, like there's all these moments where
People
it's
like exploding through walls and flying out windows. Yeah,
there's
it's
like
ridiculous.
hover bikes, you know,
Yeah.
like there's this huge sci-fi aspect to it, but it's still like just that nitty gritty.
And yeah,
like,
the streets
you know
are
what this
dirty.
movie needs? More explosions. Like,
Little Michael Bay's on there.
Yeah.
So like if I were to take this and try to, like we were saying, we're gonna Imperial Guard it some more, that would be how you would get a penal legion. You would start with this, like this is like I wanted to go with like a flavor for this one. Like we all know Stormtroopers, that is Imperial Guard, so that's an easy, like I said,
Yeah.
that's the low hanging fruit. But to go with something that's just thematically almost the same, but not using, like you could pull a character named Dredd, but essentially using Arbites models, which you can get basically, and people use the Orlocks?
No, it's what are they
Palatine
called?
Enforcers.
Yeah,
Palatine
Enforcers.
Enforcers.
Oh, yeah,
I just built
models.
some. I built
Yeah,
actually. I don't know why I didn't bring that up. I built Palatine Enforcers last week,
Which
too.
are very similar to the
Pretty-
Dread models of
pretty sure I have
armor
that
in a
box.
way, and so you could use those models. You turn them into judges. You
Yep.
run them as commissars,
Ooh,
essentially.
I like that.
Oh.
Okay.
and you lead a penal legion.
I really like
Oh.
that.
And you got
Fuck.
some ISO key
I really
tags.
fucking like that.
Right? Look at
Fuck.
that. That's
Yeah.
no, Tom. The word is dope.
Dope.
I really fucking like that.
Dude,
So-
a
Right?
fucking commissar's a judge.
Right?
Oh,
I
dude.
mean, it makes sense.
But that would be like the how you
God damn.
analogize it into Battlefield role.
God
So-
damn, that's dope.
So to hit you guys with the history, as we mentioned earlier, Games Workshop did not start making Warhammer 40k and Warhammer Fantasy Battle. They actually started in licensed products, and one of those licensed products was role-playing games. And one of the role-playing games, I cannot remember the name for the life of me, but it was basically a Judge Dredd role-playing game. And the first miniatures they produced were judges for that game. And that art style and those sculpts became the first Arbites. So there is a direct link between the judges and the Arbites.
And why they look
There's even-
99% the same.
There's even an Ogren.
Yeah,
The like
there's an
son from
ogre
the
in
Wastelander
Dread.
people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I got him, Paul. Like that's
Yeah.
a fucking Ogren right
Yeah.
there. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
What
Yeah.
the hell were the cannibal guys?
yeah, that's what I'm
remember.
talking about.
Yeah.
The Wastelanders.
Yeah.
Hit us with your custom
And-
card unit.
So like Penal Legion used to be kind of a flavor that they used to toss around, and there's kind of like tidbits for lore about it. But in Warhammer, Penal Legions, they go to worlds and they're like, okay, we have a really shitty war zone or a really big minefield, whatever, generally those are kind of in the same place.
Right.
And they draft a bunch of prisoners, and your choice is die right here when the commissar shoots you, or advance towards the enemy.
Right.
Die by commissar shoot you is also known as die by bomb collar, because they take these prisoners and they put bomb collars on them, and that's literally it. You disobey order, off goes your head. Boom. You're
So
dead.
would these run as? Would this be a conscript heavy regiment, or would this?
I would say this would be a very, very conscript infantry heavy regiment. And then you could even go with having some, because you can mix scions into a normal regiment. They just lose their super specific traits, but you could dress them up as prison guards, or even just using normal guardsmen and, paint them kind of bluish, like prison guard uniforms or something.
Called guards.
And they're literally called guardsmen.
Yeah.
And so you could have conscripts, and that's why that would explain their bad ballistic skill. You could even use Catachan rule set, so they have the stronger melee, but or even go custom guard and give them the slumlords.
Nice.
Like to go into more of the like how to play them on the tabletop, you give them the 2 melee traits from the custom list, where when they're nearby an officer, the Arbites guy,
the judge,
they hit better in melee.
So
that's so good.
Are they going to existing Hive worlds and pulling the prison populations or the people that the Arbites have already gotten, or do they pull from a specific Hive world?
Typically, when they do these regiments, they would go to a penal world, because the Imperium goes, okay. I mean, like they do have local prisons.
So they're not pulling local prisoners. They're specifically going to a penal world to build this legion.
Yeah, they're pulling
this one
lifers.
to pull
Not
the
legion, regiment,
quantities. It would be from a penal world, and that would explain why they would have all the jumpsuits and everything. And that's how a lot of people would fabricate these. Is you just paint them head to toe orange jumpsuit.
Oh, dude, that'd be so awesome with like lawbreakers stenciled down the side.
Yeah. Literally, you just
dope.
You've had to have seen these in all of your codex flipping.
Oh, yeah.
There are literally, there's artwork for these guys, and they're literally just, they have no shoes.
Yep. Yeah.
They are barefoot. They're issued a las gun and a bomb collar.
If they're lucky.
And that's it. Yeah, and
sometimes it's a knife and a bomb collar.
Yeah, sometimes it's a knife and a bomb collar. And they're literally just sent to clear minefields and all kinds of stuff. And the whole concept is that you would just use the judges instead of, to be cool version flavored commissars.
Yeah.
Give it a little backstory.
Light taps.
Yeah.
It makes me think of the movie Gamer with Gerard Butler, where if you survive like 30 as an NPC, if you survive 30 first person shooter matches, you get off or whatever. And John Leguizamo's like, I got 29. This is my last one. Then he gets his head blown off.
Bless.
Do you have any other lore for him, or is it just basically like a running concept?
That was kind of a running concept, and I mean you could do this and flavor it in all kinds of number of ways, because they would be prisoners drafted for a special purpose, prisoners drafted for, like, if it was a crusade, it would be, oh man, chaos showed up, we don't have enough PDF.
Right.
We drafted a prison regiment because we literally were out of options. So there's your defensive crusade prison detachment. Or if you were like, oh, we're going on if our crusade, narrative is going to be the Imperials are crusading outwards instead of being defensively and trying to retake ground, then you could be like, okay, we raised a regiment of, conscripts to fill the ranks.
Gotcha.
Or you could even include this as like, if you have an Imperial Guard army and you're like, oh man, I like all my squads to be a little bit different. And, I just want my conscripts to look like conscripts as opposed to regular guys. Paint them orange. There's your penal battalion.
Yeah, all your conscripts are the prisoners.
Yeah.
That's so dope.
And also it kind of fits in line with the Imperial Navy press gangs people into service. So they'll go into the Underhive and just beat people up, tase them, lock them in a box, and then ship them out with the Navy. It's basically the 40k version of getting shanghaied.
It's like the dude sitting in the doorway at the beginning of the movie Dread, and he's like, are you panhandling? Yeah. If you're here when I get back, you're going in the ISO. Like, they just do that every once in a while. Like, are you eating your lunch? Yeah. If you're here eating your lunch when I get back, you're going into the penal legion.
Yeah, you're going into the draft. Yeah. So that's a good way to play with it. And so that would give you a good reason to have like people who look different, different worlds worth of guys, things like that.
That's so dope, man.
Good ways
I like
to
that
flavor.
a lot. I've got myself down as going second. Do one of you guys want to jump in second? And as a side, I do think that we probably have 2 episodes here. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think we're good.
I can go second if you, because I'm probably going to need help with mine, because obviously I'm not the best person to describe things.
I'm down to go last because mine is I've already got mine pretty well fleshed out.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a bunch for mine too. All right, Marky. So you're.
I wanted to start mine with. Do you guys know? Because do you? I know Ryan knows, but do you guys know my choices?
The Muffin Man. What?
Oh yeah, I guess that's like, oh shit. We should have done that. I have to.
No, it's all good.
I have to.
We have to redo this whole episode
because I already knew. But man, we should have guessed on Kev. So I can't say anything. But do you guys know what Marky picked? I want to know.
Yeah. Do you guys know what I picked?
I mean, I do because it's.
You bitch! You looked at it.
I literally had the screen.
Cheated.
All right.
Right
so
there.
all right.
Fucking
So
cheated.
I guess it's just Tom, and Tom probably doesn't fucking know what the hell this movie is because it's kind of a bullshit movie, but I liked it. So the movie starts, Tom, with a woman screaming bloody murder. Okay. Start of the movie. And she's having a baby.
Okay, I was like, where are you going? Okay, now I know. Where
Now, the baby is disfigured, a mutant, you might say. And the next scene is said baby in a cage eating a cat.
Oh, I know what this is. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And
I know exactly what
when
this
this happened, the parents were like, fuck this.
You picked this?
And discard the baby into the sewers.
You picked this as the... Oh, yeah, that's right. I did see that. Yeah. What the fuck?
So do you,
How?
so
All
you
right,
know
go
what
ahead,
movie
go
it
ahead.
is?
I'm interested. Yeah, of course I do. No, I'm interested to see what you're going to do with this.
Okay? And the baby is found by... What do you call it? The wildlife in the sewers?
Wildlife.
The wildlife.
From an escaped animal prison.
So can I reveal the name, give the year and the deets yet?
Yes, please. If you don't know what this is.
Hey,
don't know what it is.
don't call him the barnacle. Did you ever see that tweet? It's like the barnacle has the largest penis compared
my
to any animal in the universe, and then Danny DeVito responds, "Stop calling me the barnacle." It's Batman Returns from 1992. This is
How
an
the hell are you
American
even-
superhero film directed by Tim Burton, who did Edward Scissorhands and Mars Attacks, among many others. And it is based on the DC comic character Batman by Bill Finger and Bob Kane. Now, I do want to point out, because this is a weird piece of knowledge that I happen to know about movies, that Tim Burton did not actually direct Nightmare Before Christmas, which is why I did not list Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas as one of Tim Burton's films. And the reason is because he was busy directing Batman Returns at the time that Nightmare Before Christmas was being directed. However, it is based on his artwork and his story.
And it's pretty funny because there's actually a lot of drama or
There was a lot of
what's the
bullshit.
word? It was like trivial, like bull crap surrounded around this movie because it was almost geared towards kids. But when you watch this movie, you're like, is this really a kids
It's
movie?
not a kids movie.
Well, and
Yeah,
like
that's-
Tim Burton would spend 12, 14 hours working on Batman Returns, and then he would go to the Nightmare Before Christmas set, which was like across town, and he would stay up for an additional like 6 hours, and then he would sleep, and he would come back, and apparently it was nightmare fuel. There are documentaries about this stuff. That's how
That's pretty
much
cool.
like weird crap happened. But
Well, I mean, even if you notice in one of the scenes of Batman Returns, one of the villains is actually dressed as Jack Skellington.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
But yeah, so the reason I chose this movie is because of
who's in it, Marky? Who are the actors? Give us the actors.
Oh, yes. So the actors for this movie are Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, the man himself, and Michelle Pfeiffer, the best Catwoman there is.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I know. Halle Berry, though. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll burst into flames.
Yeah, so the reason I chose this movie is because it is the atmosphere of Gotham City. And the reason I chose this movie is because of Penal Legions. I didn't know Kevin also chose Penal Legions, but it's kind of funny because it's like this
Gotham
is almost
so under Hivey.
Yeah, so Gotham is so like the atmosphere. I mean, Ryan can obviously describe it way better than I can in larger, more intelligent words. But the atmosphere of Gotham City is so Hivey, like even upper Hivey, because of the way it happens, like where it's all like the politics and whatnot of how Batman Returns starts. It's like upper Hivers like celebrating. or something.
the income disparity between the upper hive and the lower hive is something that has been a key element of Batman since the beginning. Is that
It's the
Bruce
core
Wayne has
portion
all
of
this money and all of his like his normal like the people that he would normally be with and like the corporate power that Wayne Enterprise
right,
has.
and he's down in the slums, kind of thing.
Yeah, but like those people, those are all upper hivers, and and they don't give a fuck about the poor people.
Not at all.
Not at all. And
maybe,
that's why Gotham got the way it was.
The describe a movie poorly about Batman, and it's deranged billionaire psychopath beats up on mentally handicapped
Criminals.
patients. Yeah. And it's like,
or
that's
mentally
really
ill
sad.
sus-
Yeah, because they literally
Yeah,
are. Like,
So I mean, there was multiple reasons why I chose this movie. One of them also being because the convicts or the bad guys in the movie
the
are
Red Triangle Gang.
yeah, they are like almost like circus folk.
Yeah.
So they're almost like Nutty Jays. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit like that. But these are like the kind of people that would be sent to a penal colony right?
Yeah,
So
I could see that.
Hence, like penal legions, but just like it was an accumulation of all these things: the atmosphere, the fact that there's almost like gene stealer cult within the hive, because that would be like the
Yeah, that's where I was like making the major connections.
Mhm.
With that is like the way you were talking, and I mean, and also too in the way that the penguin like brings people into his fold,
Mhm.
where they
Yeah.
actually like him,
Like a
you know?
patriarch, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, he does
So-
act a lot like a patriarch. That's a really good point. And
Mhm.
he wants everybody to refer to him as based on his like family heritage and everything. And then
Right.
I can't remember, but something happens and he's just like, "Fuck it, no, I'm the pink." He embraces it.
Yeah.
Doesn't
exactly,
he
yeah.
bite somebody's nose off in this
Yeah,
film?
one of my favorite
Yeah.
lines. One of my favorite lines in it is he said something along the lines of like, "Oh, it's got to be hard to laugh while your nose is gushing blood." And the guy's all, "What?" And he just bites the shit out of his nose.
I like distinctly remember that scene.
Yeah.
It's got to be
Just
hard to
'cause-
laugh when you're bleeding from your nose.
Yeah.
How does
But,
Catwoman fit into this story, Marky? Do you remember?
So Catwoman is one of the secretaries of one of the higher
Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm in a Batman movie.
Talk to me like that again. I'll stab you in the face with a soldering knife.
Right, that's right. Okay,
Yeah.
because there's
And, right,
another.
and-
There's always another like high mucky muck non-psychopath bad guy.
Right, and another reason is because like Penguin is like a patriarch, because and like Brood Brothers or the Gene Stealer cult, to where he's trying to gain higher influence in the city. So he grabs, I think it's like the governor. I forgot what Christopher Walken's plays. It's like the governor of the city.
He's
mayor?
he's
No,
trying
he's
to
not the mayor.
build
He's just-
something. Yeah, he's like
a
a
business guy. He's a
yeah.
business
Oh,
mogul.
business guy. Okay,
Yeah.
but he's
Shrek.
basically trying to gain his influence, and in doing that, like Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
Basically becomes like a victim of circumstance, and she becomes Catwoman, and Batman is obviously Batman. He's the Caped Crusader crazy guy that beats up bad people, not like an Arbites or anything. Like, not everything in Batman Returns is going to fit directly into 40k, but I thought the atmosphere and just kind of little tidbits here and there basically fit into it, and that's why I chose it.
Yeah, I would definitely say that the connection you're making between Penguin and
And
Gene Stealer
Gene
cult
is a
in
pretty
this
interesting one.
exact instance
Yeah.
makes
Pretty
sense.
fucking close.
It's
Yeah.
kind of one of those
That's
like
crazy.
perfect storms where it's
Yeah.
like all of these things in this movie only make sense.
The funny,
You know?
the funny
Although-
thing too is that the Red Triangle Gang is like a former disgraced circus troupe that was like stealing kids, and the Nutty Jays are based on the idea of the way that we came up with the Nutty Jays as one of the gangs for the Hive was based on the dysfunctional relationship between Harley Quinn and the Joker. We
Mhm.
tweaked it so that there's legitimately a fucking Eldari pulling the strings at the top of that chain in the Hive. But the whole idea, like, it's super like I didn't even put that together until you mentioned it in your breakdown. I was like, oh
Oh,
shit.
the Nutty J thing?
Oh
Yeah.
shit, there's a Jays connection. Like, it didn't even fucking think about it.
Yeah, there was multiple connections where I was kind of like, I kind of like this, and it's not like a typical action movie that you would think of. Like, it's
Yeah,
Batman
it's not.
Returns,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So
gotta
I
be.
thought it was.
No, that's
kind
why
of-
when you were saying it, I was like, how the hell are you going to connect
Although-
this?
When you brought up Batman, it actually made me think of, it might be, I honestly don't remember release date on it. You remember Batman Returns? Or not Batman Returns, Batman Beyond.
Batman Beyond, yeah.
That
the
one actually,
cartoon that's in the
yeah, the
future?
cartoon one that's in the future.
Mhm.
That one had a lot of good,
Mhm.
when you said it, it got my brain remembering.
Yeah.
And there was
Okay.
a lot of good 40k references there.
Mhm.
They
Gotham?
have like,
Go ahead, sorry.
Gotham
Gotham?
itself, yeah.
there was an episode that specifically dealt with like mutants,
Mm-hmm.
the splicers.
Yeah,
And
all
they had
the kids
like,
that were basically
yeah.
splicing and
They
becoming
were splicing extra DNA into them, but they were basically becoming
Mutants.
subhumans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were becoming animalistic and stuff like
Right.
that. And that was a theme that's in Eisenhorn and Ravener.
Yep.
That's what when they go to the mutant bar. Like
Mhm.
there's a
Yep.
specific bar for
Well,
those people.
Oh.
Ravener
Yeah.
Ravener has a mutant like retainer. Like at least when he's first introduced in Malleus, he has a mutant retainer. The dude with the
Yeah.
flamethrower
Oh yeah.
that like
Um,
can't talk and constantly drools on things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how is this a functioning fucking inquisitorial?
Well, I think he's a
asset?
psyker. He's
So
like
that-
a super psyker.
Okay.
So
yeah.
then, okay, so what is then
His
your
second movie?
Well, yeah, what's your second movie? Because I want to come back to this.
Okay. Are we do we need to talk about the plot, Ryan? I don't think it's.
Yeah, I mean the plot basically, as Marky kind of outlined briefly, Danny DeVito's character, the Penguin, is born on Christmas Day. He's hideously deformed, and his parents throw him into the sewer. He's
Best
raised
person ever played the Penguin, by the way.
he's
Hands down.
raised
Only
by
person who played it.
feral penguins, and as Beast mentioned, they escaped from the Gotham Zoo, which is just such a weird fucking idea. But he strikes back about 30-ish years later when Christopher Walken's character Max Schreck is proposing an idea for a new power plant. In classic Batman faction, Schreck is also a bad guy, and he's actually trying to steal all of Gotham's power to monopolize it. And that's when Selena Kyle, his secretary, finds out about it. She gets pushed out a window in some weird circumstances Marky mentioned, and she's saved by cats because, of course, and she becomes Catwoman. I don't remember. I think the Penguin tries to kidnap the actual mayor's kid because Schreck and the mayor are working together, and Batman stops it.
It was
there's
a
sub
setup, though.
Yeah,
It was
there's a
all
sub.
orchestrated.
Yeah, there's a subplot where Bruce Wayne and Selena are like kind of falling in love, but then they find out that they're Batman and Catwoman, and they can't love each other because they're fighting. And it's a Batman movie. Like there's all sorts of like back and forth. It's
good.
definitely fun. If you haven't seen it, it's a good one. I would say the Michael Keaton Batmans are pretty good. I know a lot of people default to the Christian Bale as being like the best ones, but I like the Michael Keaton ones. I think they're a lot of fun.
I feel like they each has a place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Michael Keaton ones still leave you with the comic book feel.
Yeah.
They do.
Like it's
They
still
do.
it's still fun.
Yeah.
Whereas all the Christian Bale like era, like the Dark Knight, the gritty Batmans
Yeah, honestly,
are.
George
Yeah.
Clooney.
Yeah.
Batman Returns.
I didn't even see that one.
George Clooney one?
I didn't even get
The
that.
only
I'm
thing I
just
can
talking
remember about
specifically
the only
like,
thing I can remember about the
Christian Bale ones.
George Clooney ones, or maybe it was the Val Kilmer. There's one Val Kilmer one. In one of them, there's some statement where somebody goes, "Why does the bat suit have nipples?" And I'm like, why does
The
it?
George Clooney one is the first one where they put nipples on the Batman suit.
Yep.
And somebody like directly says it in the film too. I would say though, from a picture building scenario, if you want to build a picture of the Underhive in your mind, and you either haven't looked at the artwork that we've released or heard our descriptions about the Underhive, the way that Gotham City is presented in every single Batman film, with the exception of the Robert Pattinson one, because I haven't seen that one yet, but I imagine it's the same.
It's
Every
probably the same.
single Batman film, Gotham is like the epitome of Underhive. It's never,
Oh, yeah.
there's never natural light. There's a weight to the environment. It feels
buildings
like
all
something is
look heavy.
above it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the Underhive. Like
The
100%.
Art Deco, all the
Yeah,
buildings are Art
yeah.
Deco or like concrete or iron.
Well,
like
it-
that's very Warhammer.
The
Yeah.
easiest connection to make, right? Which I think a lot of people don't think about. Gotham, Gothic.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
the connection is right there.
Mhm.
Gotham is a Gothic city, right?
And-
And what is
yeah.
Gothic?
Yeah.
Warhammer
Warhammer
40k.
Also,
Gotham
one
Gotham
thing
is
Big
an
titty goth
old
girls.
Gothic word for New York City. It was one of the old
Gotham was supposed to represent New York.
It's
one
really,
thing,
it's really weird.
actually, two more things that I've noticed about the presentation of Gotham City that's very Hive City relatable. The tops of the buildings are always presented as being above the clouds. It's an artistic choice that they made there.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, and
That is,
Spire.
and very spiry, pointy tops, very elegant tops.
Gargoyles.
The
Yeah.
bottom
Gothic.
is actually 2 layers.
Yeah.
It's harder to tell in some of the old Batman movies because they don't show it as well.
Mhm.
But specifically in the Dark Knight ones, you notice that there's actually 2 layers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is an under city
tunnels
now.
and tunnels
Yeah.
and piers.
Like
and,
all the poor people live below the
Mhm.
streets,
under
like the-
bridges and
yeah. Like they
Oh,
essentially
yeah.
built
Yeah.
a second road on top of the existing
Mhm.
roads and just
like abandoned
sealed-
roads, essentially.
Well, and all the poor people just hang out down there.
Mhm.
It's
And
an
I
underhive.
Yeah.
And I feel the way that they make that distinction, now that you mention it, is the train. There's every single
there's a
Batman
train.
movie, there's a
Yeah.
train, and the train is at like
There's 2 different ones.
floor
There's a train
4.
up top.
Yeah.
There's one that's like 4 stories above the ground, and that's
Yeah.
where they make the underhive to regular city. And then there's another one that's always like a super fancy monorail that
Yeah.
goes up higher.
Yeah, so the rich
Crazy.
people.
So the
never
rich
have
people
like,
don't
go
have to
through
mingle with the
slum.
poor people.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't
Don't have
go through
to
the
teach.
slum.
I'm glad you guys like my reference.
That's good. I really like
The
it.
city
So-
is a great choice. The
Yeah.
story for Batman
not amazing.
is
right.
not direct, but I do like the Gene Steeler analogies. That was
Yeah.
a cool
It's
way to
pretty good.
branch it there.
Yeah.
But the city itself as a character is a
I-
great.
I know
way to
I was
bring it in.
reaching, but it was like,
Yeah,
I think
'cause, I
this
mean, how
is
does
just
that-
enough.
But
'Cause
you
that's-
also knew
that's
that
my-
we could fill in some of the extra, like that you knew.
Mhm.
Like
Well-
you're like, I know there's more here. I just don't know how to describe
But
it.
that's
Right.
also my connection, though. Is like, how is that a Imperial Guard regiment?
Brood Brothers and Penal Legions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So,
he
so
took
actually
it
like
kind
a
of from a
traitor
slightly
guard.
different, more like Trader Guard,
Ah, I like
Where-
it. Okay, then yes.
Yeah. where they would try to gain influence
Yep.
before
No,
revealing themselves as
100%
traitors.
Brood Brothers. You're like Gene Stealer Cult Legion type shit.
Mhm.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, basically trying to gain their influence all over the place.
Bless.
Yeah.
Bliss.
Bliss. So what is
So-
your second film? And I already know
My-
it, but I want to hear how you describe it before I give the official.
So again, I'm probably the worst one at describing things here. So the first half of this movie is guys that are being trained for a war, as in boot camp type stuff. The other half of the movie is the actual war,
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a pretty good description of this film.
and that's all I'm going to give you.
Tom, do you know what it is?
Oh, you're talking about Band of Brothers, right?
Negative
No,
Ghost
I thought
Rider.
you were talking about that once before. I don't know.
No. Should I give him a one-line reference?
Yes, please.
Who the fuck said that?
Who
Oh,
the
Full
fuck
Metal
pinged
Jacket.
me?
Oh, yeah. You're like you can suck a golf ball through a garden hose.
I was like, I want to go with a better than the standard one, so I had to
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I threw a little
Yeah.
accent on
Yeah.
it. I broke
The
Ryan.
second you said it, I was like, oh. No, dude, that movie.
So
oh,
I've,
man.
I've
and
met,
You're
I
talking
met
about.
him.
You were talking.
He's a
Army.
super nice guy.
Yeah,
Harley
yeah,
Army's
I met
dope,
him,
dude.
too. You were talking about one of the movies that I based my entire military professional persona off of.
Oh, dude, it's
Like-
100% true.
Like I literally, anytime I did any type of training exercise,
Yeah.
I
You're
would
like,
say,
how would Ermi do this?
No. Fuck that. No, Animal Mother.
Okay.
Every single time I did anything, like fucking, what do you think is that?
Yeah.
You know, that fucking tattoo is like that was the whole reason I grabbed that fucking machine gun. Like,
Yeah.
it was because of Animal Mother, dude.
Yeah,
So,
dude, that,
as these guys mentioned, sorry, Marky, as these guys
No, go.
mentioned, the movie is Full Metal Jacket, released in 1987. It is a war drama film directed and produced by Stanley Kubrick. You might know that name from little titles like Clockwork Orange and 2001: A Space Odyssey. It was co-written with Kubrick by Michael Hare, a war correspondent for Esquire magazine during the Vietnam War, and Gustav Hasford, who wrote The Short Timers, which is the book that Full Metal Jacket is based on. I actually thought this was a really interesting one, and we'll get to another one that's like this. The guys that wrote this aren't screenwrites. These are dudes who were in this shit.
That's
that wrote
why
it.
this movie specifically is a really convincing portrayal.
Yeah, it's very good.
yeah.
So break it down for us, Marky. Give us a synopsis as you can remember, as much as you can remember from the film. And I'm sorry, it's starring Matthew Modine, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Lee Emery, who we already mentioned. I have to say, I know this is a complete aside, but Vincent D'Onofrio made the best fucking Kingpin ever.
Yeah, Arlie Army.
You also forgot that it's starring a lot of napalm and some helicopters.
It's
And
starring a
Baldwin.
lot.
Bum,
Oh,
bum.
no. So
And-
he's
and
actually
Baldwin.
only
Don't forget about Baldwin.
he's yeah. There's a bunch of other people in the film, but he's actually officially credited on IMDb as just Lee Ermey. I'm not sure why they dropped the R. He was an actual gunnery sergeant, right?
Mhm.
At one
Yes,
point.
yeah. I think he was actually a staff sergeant. And he was promoted to gunnery sergeant after the
Afterward. Okay.
film.
Oh, 'cause
Honorary promotion to
Yeah,
gunnery
honorary.
sergeant after he did the film.
Cool.
You are
That's-
correct.
That's dope.
Yeah, I think
He
he,
was
was a
at-
staff sergeant.
He was at my buddy and my like adoptive brother, who you guys haven't met, but you probably all really like him. His graduation from boot camp. He was there. He was a pretty cool guy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I met him at Marine Corps birthday, so that
Cool.
was pretty dope.
I also got to
There's
meet
soft
the
store.
like the
Nice.
5th or 6th Molly, because apparently Molly the Bulldog. The Marine Corps just gets another Molly.
Yeah,
When
Yeah.
the old Molly retires, they just get a new dog and name it Molly.
dude.
It's
I-
very Marine Corps.
Dude, you guys don't understand. My heart was broken when I found out Shamu wasn't the same Shamu.
Mhm, mhm.
Dude, I didn't realize that
It's
until I was a
Shamu too.
full-grown adult.
Do not watch the film Blackfish. You do not want to know
No,
what
you
happens
should.
Oh,
to
watch
yeah.
those
it.
damn
It's
animals.
awesome.
Yeah, I think I was like 21 when the wifey was like, "You know, that's not the same Shamu, right?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"The fuck you talking about?" She's like,
Yeah,
"He's dead." I'm like,
he's not.
"What?"
He's not dead. He killed people, and they can't use him anymore. You should
No,
watch the
no,
film
but now he's
Blackfish.
dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Blackfish is
jailed.
awesome just because they fucking. Or no, not Blackfish. I'm thinking of the Cove. I was
Oh, yeah,
the
the Cove.
Cove. The Cove is
God,
awesome.
that's a-
They just
that's a really
slaughter
good scene.
whales. It's dope.
It's such a brutal film. How is this dope?
So
I used to have a friend that like tried to come up with the most offensive like bumper stickers possibly, and
Nuke the whales.
Nuke the whales. That was he was like,
Oh my
nuke the
God,
whales is the one I would do.
Gotta nuke something.
All right, Marky, give us a breakdown.
So I'm going to try and give a breakdown of the plot, but again, I'm not the best at this, so guys, feel free to take over. So there's recruits that arrive at Paris Island, basically for boot camp, and are greeted by drill instructor Gunnery Sergeant Hartman on their Black Friday.
Yep.
He introduces himself as a firm but fair drill instructor, overweight slightly, for a drill instructor at least. Clumsy Leonard Lawrence annoys Hartman, and Hartman decides to verbally abuse the shit out of him, punch him in the gut, and give him a nickname Joker. I believe that
was the line.
What's
Who
that?
the fuck said that?
Joker is.
Oh, you think you're funny?
Joker
You must be a
is-
Joker.
Joker is the main character.
Yeah, Joker's the glasses guy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not Leonard Lawrence.
No, Leonard Lawrence is Private Pile.
Oh,
Private
He's
Pile.
the fuck
Yeah.
up.
Gotcha.
He's the fuck up,
I always
Pile.
just knew him as Private Pile, so
Yeah, Leonard Lawrence is the fuck up.
Pile of shit.
Pile is his name. Yep.
Private Pile.
But yeah, the story mainly follows Joker, which the name is bestowed on him from Gunnery Sergeant Hartman.
Because he cracks a
Lips
joke,
back.
like one little tiny joke,
Yeah.
and like barely under his breath. And drill instructor by nature
Yep.
have eyes, ears, and
Everything.
surveillance equipment everywhere, so
Yeah.
they
He
know
comes
everything.
walking in
Yeah, I
from
think
a
he
different
comes
room.
Storming across the room.
Yeah.
That's where that line.
was
Who
like-
the fuck said that?
He was like
My-
40
my-
yards away, and
My
Joker
number
cracks
one favorite, like, who pinged me gif. Who the fuck pinged me? And he comes
Yeah, who the
marching
fuck
in.
pinged me?
Yep, that's the one. But I think it was like, what's his name? Clint Eastwood, like, quote that he said.
John Wayne, is this me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
The first half of the story basically follows them through boot camp, which I'm not going to lie is pretty accurate.
It's brutal.
It's
brutal.
pretty accurate. Living through it myself, it's pretty accurate.
It's
there are some
supposed to be
differences.
shitty, but
Yeah, there's some differences, but I mean, none. I mean, it's like
Well, they
better
can't-
and worse differences.
they can't hit you anymore.
No.
Yeah, they
I
can
mean,
if you
they're
touch them
they,
first.
They can knife hand the fuck out of you.
quote unquote they can't hit you anymore. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's also a different time than when I was in. So
Well, yeah, but if you run into the drill sergeant's fist, then
Yeah.
that's your fault.
well, yeah,
Uh-huh.
if you get clotheslined and choke slammed into your locker, that's that was on you.
What's that line from Chicago? And then he ran into my knife. He ran
ran
into
into
my
my
knife
knife
9
9
times.
But the first half of the story is basically about a guy that keeps fucking up, which it's true. I had one in my boot camp as well.
I think every group of boot camp has one.
Yeah,
and I
there's
think
always-
that's why they put it in the movie was to
Yeah.
specifically illustrate that some people just aren't cut out.
right.
Yeah,
Some
Yeah,
people
and
just
that-
can't do it.
every
And that's
unit's got a pile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's they basically call them like the 10%. There's always that 10%.
10% they just can't do.
Yeah, exactly. And it follows kind of like a guy that's not all there initially, or basically just a fuck up. And as it follows it, the guy actually ends up losing his mind.
He snaps.
Yeah, he pretty much snaps from getting fucked with so much, which does happen. People they snap. They can't handle it. And then they get, like med boarded or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah.
This guy didn't go down that route. He decided to shoot the drill instructor in the face.
Chest.
I know it was the chest, but it's funnier to say face.
in the face.
No, he shot himself in the face.
And then he
shot
shot
himself
it,
in
and
the
then he proceeded to shoot himself in the face. So it was, it's pretty gnarly, and that's only the first half of the
Yeah,
movie.
Right?
It's a very, very dark film.
It's a little long too.
It's very slow, like in the sense of it's like steady.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
very steady film. It's a very intellectual film,
Mhm.
and it is meant to stir up emotions.
Very
Which it
does.
does.
Yeah,
really well.
because it's very much about PTSD. It's very much about the
Suicide.
the horrors of
Mental
war and
illness.
combat.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that it does. And as a 12-year-old, when I first watched this, and then American History X back to back, I learned some things.
You guys said I was a monster for taking mushrooms and watching Event Horizon? This
Yeah,
man's
that's
father
a
let
terrible
him
idea.
watch.
That's pretty horrific. That's
Yeah.
pretty horrific.
That's way worse
That's
than
still
this.
worse. That's
Yeah.
still
way
worse.
Yeah, I mean, I was not watched as a child, so I got away with a couple things.
They got away with a couple things.
Yeah.
My favorite character in the entire movie is Animal Mother. Like that dude, I literally like based myself off that guy. Anytime,
awesome.
well, anytime I went into any type of when I was doing security training, I would always just be that guy. I'd stay very quiet until we were doing any type of drill, and then I would just be loud, screaming, fucking lunatic. You know, like that whole line that he has where he's like, A-Ball's talking about him. He's like, believe it or not, under fire, Animal Mother could be a very wonderful human being. All he needs is somebody throwing hand grenades at him for the rest of his life. And I was like, this is me. You know?
This man.
Yeah,
I know
it's
him.
like, that's what I'm going to do.
Ryan, if you don't mind taking the second half of this, because I feel like you
Yeah.
would do it a little more justice than me.
So the second half of the film actually takes up in January 1968 when Davis, Joker, is now a sergeant and is based in Da Nang with Stars and Stripes alongside other colleagues with the start of the same boot camp, including a combat photographer. The Tet offensive begins and their base is attacked, but actually ends up holding on throughout the night. The following morning, both Joker and the cameraman are sent to Fubai, where Davis coincidentally reunites with Sergeant Cowboy, who is also somebody who is in boot camp with them. During the Battle of whom?
Only steers
Only
and
steers
queers
and
come
queers
from
come from
Texas.
Texas.
You don't look like a steer to
Here,
me,
so
boy.
I guess that
Narrows it
kind of
down.
narrows it down. A booby trap ends up killing their squad leader, leaving Cowboy in command. They become lost in the city. Cowboy tries to raise tank support, but he is actually killed by a Viet Cong sniper. Assuming command, the squad machine gunner, Animal Mother, leads a vengeance attack on the sniper. Davis, Joker, ends up locating her first, but his M16 rifle jams, alerting the, she's super young. I think she's like 14 or 15.
Oh,
year
yeah,
old
it's a
teenage
teenage
girl to
girl.
his presence. Yeah. Raph, the cameraman, intervenes and wounds her. Davis ends up being the one who kills her. And as nightfall, they return to the camp singing the Mickey Mouse March. Davis phrases that despite being in a world of shit, he's glad to be alive and no longer afraid. And this is definitely like all of this, as Beast points out, was very much written to show the almost
The fucked up side.
dehumanization and fucked upness of war. And specifically the Vietnam War. It's
Yeah,
a
the
very
sniper
They
scene
they
alone.
chose to make that sniper, one, a female, and two,
And
a
a
teenager.
child.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To
And not
make
only
you
that,
really, really consider what's happening.
well, the
Well,
reason
yeah.
that it hammers it home so much is the way that she was sniping. She wounded him, and
yeah,
they
because all the way up until the point where they show you who it is, you're
Mhm.
like, "Fuck that guy,
Yep.
get him,
Yeah.
fuck him,
Yep.
fuck him," and then you see it and you're
And then
like,
oh,
"I'm a monster."
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. That's why it drives
And
it
that's-
home so much.
And that's what Kubrick was, as a director,
Was the
that's
point.
what Kubrick was really good at doing. A lot of Kubrick's films, a lot of people, and the reason I threw it up there, that 2001: A Space Odyssey, how many people can quote the "We're not here, Dave," or "Don't do that,
Can't
Dave.
let you do that,
Don't-
Dave.
I can't let you do that, Dave." Like, people can quote that line constantly, and it's such a creepy. Again, it's made. It comes from an emotion. God damn it! It comes from that emotional fuck with your feeling and perspective side. That's the whole point. I tried to make my point. It's done. It's done.
But even
It's
that
so
scene,
done.
that scene, he did the same thing. He made you emotionally attached to a robot by making it sing a nursery lullaby.
Oh, well, and then he made you realize the horror of what that means. The fact that you've
Right.
now made this emotional attachment to a thing that don't
To
give
a
a
thing.
fuck about you.
That is trying to murder you. Yeah.
So how does Full Metal Jacket tie into the Guard? What regiment? And hit us with them deets.
Yeah, what's the combination of Batman and Full Metal Jacket that makes
Yeah,
a
and
regiment?
then tell us
So-
about your regiment.
So if you haven't
Love it.
guessed
Love it.
what regiment this is, then I'm sorry, but it's obviously Catachan.
The Cetaceans.
The Cetaceans. It's obviously the Cetaceans. I mean, that's what the Vietnam War was,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh yeah,
It
it's
was all.
definitely.
essentially where Catachans were birthed.
Yeah.
At least the style, not so much like
Yeah, the aesthetic for Catachan is definitely Vietnam.
right.
It's definitely, I would say the aesthetic for the Catachans is definitely the
70s, 80s jungle warfare.
Mhm.
is the romanticized over the top 80s 90s depictions of Vietnam soldiers, because like if
Right.
you look at this
That's
is a
true.
great
That's
example with Full Metal Jacket. Like if you look at the dudes in Full Metal Jacket and then you compare
They're
them
skinny.
to like Arnold Schwarzenegger, they don't look the same at all.
You're right. Yeah,
But-
you're right.
but
The
definitely
blown out of proportions
yeah.
80s actionized versions of the Vietnam and special operations in South America, Bolivia, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but Catachan as a planet is definitely based on the idea of like that tropical death world.
Macho man, tropical
Right.
death world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a British view on American war.
That's true. It's like a British commentary on Americans.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
exactly-
And-
I-
and
I'm
viewed
gonna
through the
insult
lens-
myself, but yeah, that's what it
Viewed-
is.
Viewed through the lens of an Austrian bodybuilder.
So the whole first half of the film being basically them training is nothing is kind of like a nod to nothing can train you for actual war, you know? So like
Yeah.
Mhm.
as a Acadian or any kind of guards, as a guardsman, you're not trained for what you're about to get yourself into. Like nothing is going to prepare you for that, and that's kind of what I saw with the first half of the movie. Like nothing's going to prepare you for that kind of thing, so it changes you as a person.
That's true. Like
Yeah.
they're taught how to load a las gun, how to clean a las gun, how to
Right.
fix a bayonet, fold their uniform, and all that shit. But at no point do they ever teach you how to like
When
fist
that-
fight an orc.
When that Valkyrie back door drops and you're told to go, 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 and you rush out onto the field and there's a 9-foot tall fungi yelling at you holding two guns, you're like, wait,
Like,
what do
you're
I
just
do? Why is
no.
the mushroom so mad?
So just kind of a nod to that as well.
Why is the flora also the fauna?
Wait, the trees are trying to kill me? What the fuck world am I on?
Right? Right? And that would be very
Flora.
Imperial Guard. Oh, here's your training. All right, get the fuck out of the transport.
Why is
Pretty
the
much.
flora also the fauna? That's good. I like that.
That was
I
good.
like
As Beast mentioned, how are you combining these two films into your guard regiment? What is your guard regiment? Where do they come from?
I'm supposed
What
to
do they
combine
look
both.
like?
Oh no, I just,
Nah.
that was an idea.
It was just
Well,
Yeah,
we all came up with guard regiments. You didn't? You didn't do your homework. No, I'm
he
kidding.
had penal slash
He had-
brother.
he
You know,
had-
I like it. He came up with two ideas. He did more work than we did. I get you.
I mean, hardly. It was just kind of like what came to mind, and I was like, you know what, this is a really cool kind of take on,
On
you
two
know,
different-
the Nutty
I-
Jays and
I think
Gene Stealer Cult
I th-
and Brood Brothers.
I think
like it.
something that hasn't been made before is a jungle death world gene stealer cult. regiment.
Well, that's kind of where my
Yeah.
Gene Stealer Cults are. That's
Yeah.
why I have like Ripley and Alien, and I kind of have
So
like
you've already done this, is what you're telling us.
Kinda. I mean, the human aspect of my guys are Catachan. I mean, like Ripley is Sergeant Ripper,
Yeah.
and my Primus is Dylan from
You son of a bitch.
from Predator. So it's kind of like,
This is a tease for your Gene Stealer cult lore.
Almost,
I see what
yeah.
you did here. I see what you did.
I mean, it'd have to be so heavily kit bashed in order for it to be fully Catachan, or like Catachan and
I feel
you know,
it works
Alien.
though, guys. I always got that impression. I don't know about you guys. I mean, we've all played him on the tabletop. I've always got the impression that he was kind of going for like a Catachan mix with Brood Brothers.
a little bit.
Did you guys get
yeah.
that?
I mean, you only really see it in my characters. You don't really see it anywhere
Yeah,
else.
if he went,
That's- I guess that's true.
so if we're talking about his Gene Stealer cult army, right? So I think the Gene Stealer cult army that he has as the other side of the coin to what this Imperial Guard type regiment could be as a Traitor Guard unit, right? So essentially Brood Brothers, right, which are the more human than a Gene Stealer, right?
The most human, yeah. The most
So-
human a Gene Stealer cultist can be.
So the half of your army that doesn't exist that we're talking about is the human regiments, right?
Mhm.
Which
Yeah,
are the
that are
Brood
based-
Brothers, right? So that's what we're referring. So that's kind of where my brain is going. Is that you're talking about it. The actual physical army that you have is the other is like
The other half of the coin,
it's
the
Gene
miners.
Stealers and the miners
Yeah.
and like shit like that. So this one would be more of
My
like,
Brood Brothers would be the Catachans.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's
that would
dope,
be your
man.
regiment. Would
Right.
be those guys themselves, which
100%.
are Brood Brothers. Yeah,
I want
which
to
are-
see him now.
Well, I haven't made them
Yeah.
because they
Well,
took Brood Brothers out
Yeah,
of
I
money.
mean, it's basically at that point, it's the rest of the guys from Predator.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like
100%.
that's kind of what I look at it as, which is funny. It's interesting. It's really interesting because the two movies are so different
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
you're referencing, but they literally will
They
like it's
click
like
with
this
each
plus
other.
this equals this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're like
So
It was-
fucking weird.
It's just a hodgepodge or a mashup of all the shit I like.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know.
Well, it's like Batman plus Full Metal Jacket equals Gene Steeler called Cat a Chance. like, and then you're just like, oh,
with the nod,
Yeah.
with the subtle nod to Nutty Jays and Hive
Yeah.
Cities and
Mhm,
shit like that.
mhm.
So
Dig it. If you guys don't mind, I think that'll wrap us up for part 1. We actually had planned on doing this as a 1 part, but I think Tom and I have some really juicy bits, so we're gonna come back with a part 2.
Yeah, but what's the episode going to be about?
Our juicy bits. Just
No,
the
it's
two of us
juicy
shaking our
bits.
stuff the entire time. So we'll be
It's
back with part
your
2.
two.
Yeah.
Well,
our
and we've
movies.
got a bunch of honorable mention movies that we didn't
Yeah,
go
yeah,
over.
we have a lot of
Some
movies,
ones
so-
that narrowly missed the timing margins that we're going for. And some that
Yeah.
did.
I'm really glad we had the Starship Troopers talk, though.
No, I
mean,
know this
100%.
is
Oh, yeah.
this is
I always
awesome,
love
and,
that
and
one.
I have a feeling when Tom and I bring up our movies, the same thing is going to happen. We're going to all build on, and that's what we're here for. We're here to like build these ideas and to show people how show you guys, show our listeners how we build this stuff, because that's the beauty of the game to us as a group of players.
Mhm.
On that note, are you going to build a guard regiment and come up with some of your own lore? We'd like you to send it our way. We'd love to read it on the podcast. Along with that, please be sure to keep us in the know with your ghost stories, your cryptid experiences, or any questions you have on any of the episodes that we've got out now or on this one. You can reach us by email at underthehiveofmadness@gmail.com or jimdarkgaming@gmail.com. You can join and get involved with our community that is growing every day over on Discord. We have channels for hobby progress, official lore conversations, homebrew lore conversations, so you can ask us about the kind of ideas that you're interested in getting into. And there's a couple of people who ask us a lot of questions, and we absolutely love it. We also talk about tactics in Warhammer 40k, as well as new releases, stuff that we kind of shy away from on the podcast. We definitely do engage with our community on in general.
One of the main things we do also on Discord, which is we have a video game channel, so that
Yep.
if you guys are out there playing video games and you're playing by yourselves, but you still want to talk to people, we have channels for that. If you want to get in cooperative play, we have channels for that.
Tom and
Yeah,
I
we-
play
we-
a lot.
I saw
Yeah.
I saw new channels pop up this week. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
those guys are
Well,
doing
I made,
some
like
stuff.
that's a new
I like
thing that
it.
we developed. I made one that was specifically for people who
For
are
co-op. I love it.
cooperatively playing, and then others for when you're just playing a video game but want to chat.
Yeah,
You're
when
just
you're
fucking
just
around. I love
soloing
it.
but want to chit chat.
Yep.
So we do have a skeleton of a website up. It is under development, so I am replacing some pictures and some other stuff right now. It looks a little bit like a template website because it is a template website right now, but I'm getting there. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I will have links both to our official website and to a link tree where you can find us all around the internet in the show notes. You can help our podcast grow by liking and reviewing us wherever you get your podcast fix. We are on Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, CastBox. And now we're also, apparently Facebook has podcast integration, so we're there too. Anywhere that you find us on many, many different channels, please go ahead and give us a like, give us a review. Please share us on social media. Let your friends know by word of mouth who we are. That is the best way that we can grow. If you want to get more directly involved and help us reach a goal where we can start doing giveaways a little bit more frequently, you can join us over on Patreon. Not only can you get involved with our quarterly painting contests, but as I mentioned, we have a desire to do some giveaways several times a year. Right now, we can only do a couple, but we'd love to grow to the point where we can do them more often. There's also some art assets, some insight into what we do, questions, polls. There's a bunch of stuff over there. I would really, even if you aren't sure you want to become a patron, go check out kind of what's going on over there and see some of the tantalizing little bits. And I mean, like, realistically, $3 a month gets you into the painting contest, gets you access to a couple of different things as far as we're concerned, and potentially registers you for future giveaways. That's a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah,
And it helps us make the show better.
And I mean, you said it, you're helping us make the show better, but also too, like, being a part of a community, I know as myself, if I'm a part of something, I like to help make it grow, and you really do feel that a lot of the people in this community, like 90% of us, it started with the 4 of us, and everybody else in that community, we all talk like we know each other. And that's because of that.
We've got some great lasting friendships, I feel. Somebody mentioned to me earlier today that even if the podcast were to, for whatever reason, dry up tomorrow, that some of the friendships that they've made through our community, they feel like will last years. And I think that's awesome. That being said, the podcast is not drying up tomorrow. We'll be back. We've got a lot of topics.
That being said, show's canceled.
Peace.
Enough of this sappy shit.
Okay, thanks,
motherfucker.
bye.
Dope.
Well, listeners, the Electro Death Trio Apostles of Sonic Massacre are about to go live down here at the Elysium. I don't know where the fuck you are, but you should probably be on your way to this pit right now. Until we again sail the Vox waves, bringing the good words of truth to the Innsmouth Hive, we have been 665.66 UHMR Chemrat Radio.
Signing
Remember,
off.
whenever
Motherfucker.
remember, whenever you're feeling down, just live like a four-armed emperor who's running amok in an Arbites recruitment barracks.
Tasty.
That was as dark as I could get with that one. I read an idiom that was like, live life like a maggot lost in meat. And I'm like, that's fucking awful.
God,
I'm using it. Right?
I was gonna say, that sounds like paradise.
Dude, I want to be that, man. A maggot lost in meat. That's my fucking favorite.
That sounds
right
like
now.
Squiggy.
Because that's like one, like you eat everything, but it's also